Good morning, fellow Guardians. We are now back in Season of the Lost, preparing for another round of Grandmaster Nightfalls. Now, before we start, let's have a look at what the Grandmasters are going to be this season. I will warn you, these are probably one of the hardest ones I've ever seen for a Conqueror Seal. So, first week, we've got the Hollow Lair. That's going to be the prep video for today. Now, Hollow Lair is going to be a very, very difficult one, especially that boss room when you're all very enclosed. Lake of Shadows, at least they've given us one easy one to sort of a bit of a breather in between. Exodus Crash, which is going to be very difficult again with the boss room. The Corrupted, which is just difficult all the way through. That's probably one of the hardest Grandmaster Nightfalls I think me and my team have ever done. The Devil's Lair, again, that's been a Grandmaster. That wasn't too bad. That should be all right. And the Proving Grounds. So that again was quite a tricky one, but once you got it, it wasn't too bad. So let's start with the Hollowed Lair. Now, the builds that we're going to be running, I've gone three different builds here because the Hollowed Lair is all three subclasses. So you're going to have Arc, Solar, and Void. So make sure you accommodate for that. In terms of the champions, it's going to be Overload and Unstoppable and Scorn. Now, so just try and tweak your builds around that. So I'm going to do one Hunter build, one Warlock, and one Titan. Now, the builds I'm going to do, you could actually run all three exactly the same, obviously with different energy weapons. We'd probably recommend energy bows, like a Void, an Arc, and a Solar one on each character. But this is a rough build on each one. Now, I'll start with the Witherhoard. Now, Witherhoard's going to be very, very useful because a lot of the areas where the ads spawn, they can sort of be quite enclosed. When they spawn, you can just chuck a Witherhoard down so they're getting damage on when they're spawning in anyway. Especially on that boss room, it's going to be quite handy. In terms of the bows, I love bows. Bows are fantastic. Obviously, you're going to need the bows for the overload anyway. They're great for a bit of range as well. So pop on a Void or an Arc or a Solar one, whichever one you fancy using. And I've also gone for a linear fusion rifle. Now, there's two reasons to go for a linear fusion. One reason is obviously for the unstoppable. It's nice to have for the unstoppables there, one on each character. And also with the mod on the compass at the bottom right here, the particle deconstruction, it's nice to have at least one person running this. So I'm going to read it out for you. Dealing damage to a combatant with a fusion rifle or linear fusion rifle grants bonus damage with the fusion rifle or linear fusion rifle against that combatant for a short duration. This effect stacks up to 5 times. So this is just for an extra bit of damage really, and it just helps to weaken the champions so you can kill them quicker as well to sort of clear the room. Okay, so in terms of the Hunter build though, now I only recently learned about this. Somebody in my clan, Bravili, actually recommended trying this, which was the Graviton Forfeit. Now the Graviton Forfeit's always been a little bit overlooked. Basically, it would increase your invisibility. Now, if you tie that with a perk on the stasis class items called Utility Kickstart, which is when your class ability energy is fully expended, you gain class ability energy. So when you're using your dodge to go invisible, or your throwing grenade to go invisible, you start to get some back immediately. You run that with distribution as well, which reduces all of the cooldowns. So really give it all the cooldowns when using your class ability near targets, and you're always going to be near targets as well, especially when you're using that dodge here to get your melee ability back. So this build is very, very good, and I think he timed it actually. You can get about 9 to 11 seconds worth of invisibility, and if your mobility is high enough as well, at that point you've already got the dodge back and you can get another grenade, so you can just consistently be invisible, which is really handy in a Grandmaster, as I'm sure most of you are aware, and it's going to be helpful especially in this one because you need to stay alive. It's nice to have at least one Guardian to stay alive and get reses. Okay, so that's about it for the Hunter. Now, say the Witherhoard, which I did use, you can use all three, have 3 Witherhoards on each character, or 1 on each character, I should say, but that's up to yourselves, whatever you want to do. So, let's move on to the Warlock. Now, Warlock, it's going to be a bit of an older build, really. The Stasis. Now, Stasis has just been so handy for Grandmasters since they came out, especially for the Warlock because of this Bleak Watcher. This is when you expend your grenade energy, you throw one of these turrets and it'll just slow enemies. This is just so helpful because you can pop one around the corner and the enemies are getting slowed and focused on that, and you don't have to worry about it as much, and it just helps to progress through difficult rooms. So I would recommend that, definitely. I run it with Glacial Harvest, but again, that's up to yourselves. That just makes the Stasis shards. I also run it with Whisper of Torments. You gain grenade energy each time you take damage. Now, you're going to be taking damage a lot in a Grandmaster Nightfall, so definitely pop that one on. In terms of the other ones, though, it's really up to yourself. I mean, I've gone for the ones that increase resilience and recovery, but again, that's completely up to yourselves. In terms of the build for the Warlock, though, I run with the Eye of Another World. So again, that gives you the regeneration speed of your grenade increases, and it highlights priority targets as well. And you get Rift Energy and things as well. So it's definitely one of the best ones to be running with Stasis. Okay, so moving on from there, the actual build-wise, I've gone for the Ignition Code. If you've got one of these, this is probably one of the god rolls in my opinion. The Vorpal weapon with Blinding Grenades. Blinding Grenades are they're going to be essential for every Grandmaster, just because you can, if you're getting wrecked by enemies, you can pop one of them at their feet or just anywhere near them, and they'll be stunned, and you don't have to worry about them for the time being. You can just slowly pick them off, even from a distance. In terms of a bow, though, as you can see, I've gone for a different class of bow. So I've gone for the arc bow on this one. This is probably one of my favourite bows, the Arsenic Bite. But again, it doesn't have to be a bow, whatever you guys fancy using for, just to have a bit of arc damage and stuff. But I'd recommend a bow just for the overload, really. And I've gone for 1,000 Voices for two reasons. Again, the same as the Hunter. Obviously, it outputs a considerable amount of damage, and it will do really well on the unstoppable fusion rifles, and it works really well when you time it with the particle deconstruction as well. So that's pretty much it for the Warlock there. It's nice to have a Warlock. I mean, I'd probably recommend 2 Warlocks and a Hunter for this one. 2 of those stasis things would be really, really helpful, and 1 Hunter and Viz. But if you are a Titan main, I mean, we'll probably give it a go with the Titan as well. I've been playing around with some builds here because obviously normally I'd recommend the Ursa Furiosa just here with the middle tree Void. So that would be when you get your shield up, and it used to be when you take a lot of damage you'd get your super back. You used to be able to get about 70-75% back. However, they have nerfed that since then, and you only get about 30 to 50% back. So it's still usable if you wanted to use it, but I would recommend trying something different. So I'm going to be trying the Bubble. Now, there's 2 exotics you can run with this bubble. Now, you can either go for the Helm of Saint 14, so it disorients the enemies when they come in, but I've honestly gone for the Crest of Alpha Lupe. Now, this will make more orbs when you pop your bubble, so it will help your teammates out as well, especially help them get their supers and clear ad rooms and things like that. But it also helps you, so when you cast a barricade, you will heal. So if you're going to be running that, I'd probably recommend getting your resilience up as quick as you can, just so you can get your barricades back and keep popping them to heal as well. In terms of the weapons for the Titan, again, I've gone for the Ignition Code because that blinding grenades is fantastic. Vorpal will help with any bosses as well. And as you can see, I've gone for the last one of the bows. I've gone for a solar bow. Now, I don't like this bow personally, but it's nice to have a bit of solar in there. And again, it's overload. So you've got an overload on every single character, and you've also got a, oh, I haven't got it on that one, let's check that up. And you've got the Unstoppable as well on each one. Except for this one, however, because I've gone for the Anarchy. Now, you can change this, you can run whatever you want. I've just popped on the Anarchy to have a look. The only thing is the Anarchy doesn't do as much boss damage as it used to. However, there's a lot of ad spawns, and when Scorns spawn, they, God, that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Bit of a tongue twister. When Scorns spawn in a spawny place, you can just pop the Anarchy web on the floor, because they take a while to spawn, so it gives you time to pop the Anarchy web on the floor, and then when they do spawn, they'll take a lot of damage, and they should be gone quite quickly. So that's just an idea. It's up to you guys what you want to play with. But that is basically it for what we're going to be running for the Grandmaster Nightfall. So that's one on each. If you are going to be running something different, like a different exotic I haven't talked about, or different anything, maybe even the Age of Scepter might work with a decent build. But let us know what you're going to be running. It will help out everyone else as well. And good luck, guys, with this coming season's Grandmasters. Is going to be quite difficult. But yeah, keep us updated, and toodles.